Good news, and I have some bad news. My hand, because I know a lot of you are gonna be asking. Welcome back. I hope all of you have been doing well. I know it's been quite a little bit since I've been here. It was since the Halloween videos. First of all, I do want to say thank you so much for all of you that watched and enjoyed those videos. Second of all, I am back here, so we are back to regular posting. So now today's video is going to be about something that a lot of you guys have been asking me, like almost every single video I've been getting this question, and that is about the Mustang. So as you can see, the Shelby is finally back here in the garage. I've been missing this car greatly, so I'm so glad to have it back here. And I did put it back together with the help of this lift, so this has come in really handy. I still have a few pieces that I didn't put back, but either way, today I finally have an update for you guys about this car. I have some good news and I have some bad news. So let me get a chair, sit down, and let's have a chat about it. I have my chair. All right, so first things first, my hand, because I know a lot of you are gonna be asking me what happened to my hand since it's all up in your face. So funny story, it actually happened with this car. So I was putting the bumper back together, and then I was putting it from the bottom. I ended up cutting myself with the bracket for the oil cooler. At first, I didn't notice it until it just started bleeding out. Then my friends were like, man, kind of looks like you need to go get some stitches. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? This is not as bad as the problem that I have now with the Shelby, which I'm about to tell you guys. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna live. So it's okay. The head is still not 100% better, but it's recovering, but I'm okay. But all right. So let's start with the bad news first. The Shelby needs a new engine. So once they took it to the dealer, they actually ran a few tests on the car. The first one was a compression test. Then once they did that, it came back with both cylinder 4 and cylinder 8, both running 20% lower than the rest. So once they did that, they actually figured, let me just run an inspection cam through each spark plug hole. And they found out that both cylinder 4 and cylinder 8 both had piston damage, with 8 being the worst, which makes sense with how many spark plugs I was just going through, like if the car was just drinking water. So then once they figured that, then they were like, all right, this car needs a new engine. So then the tech contacted the Ford hotline to put in the warranty claim. So once they got that, then Ford came back with, we need more information. The first thing that they requested was a picture of the engine bay. Then the second thing was a screenshot of the diagnostics. Once they received both of those, they went through it and they just straight up came back with, denied, we're not gonna acknowledge your warranty claim. This car is not gonna get a new engine through warranty. But let me show you one of the reasons why they denied it. So looking at this engine bay right here, is there any way that any of you can actually determine that this car was ever tuned? No, not really, but Ford did for one reason, and it's because of this intake elbow right here. So if you can see, this intake elbow is a lot cleaner than the rest of the engine, as well as this filter right here. So that's how they figured that this was probably switched out. It probably had an aftermarket intake, and then for obvious reasons it was switched out, and then now the stock one is here. So that's how they determined that this car might have been tuned. Now the second way that they actually proved it was when they requested a copy of the diagnostics from the tech, which is basically just ignition cycles, and they saw that the number of times that the car had actually been started did not match the miles that it had. So that's when they came back and they just said, nope, this is just denied. The car has been tuned, so that's why we're not gonna go through with the warranty claim. And I mean, it's understandable. Now, speaking with the service advisor, he did tell me that the only reason that this is actually like a long, vigorous process that Ford actually goes through is because it is a Shelby GT350, so it happens with Shelbys and Raptors. If you take in your car or your truck in to Ford and you have an issue with it where it needs to have an engine replacement, then they are very, very, very picky, just because these engines are very expensive and they're hand built, so they take pride in those. So that's why, I mean, unfortunately I have a Shelby GT350 and that's why it happened. He did tell me that if you have a 5.0 and you tune it, you could do whatever you want to the car, put it back to stock. Ford doesn't care if it was tuned. They'll go ahead, no questions asked, and then just replace the engine. So I mean, it is what it is. No worries from here, because I knew exactly what I was getting myself into. I knew the risks. I was well aware of the possibilities that Ford can actually just void my warranty with tuning the car. So I mean, that's okay. The dealer was actually very, very nice. They were wanting to try something else to see if they can get through the warranty, but I was like, you know, I don't know, because Ford already has the VIN and it's probably already flagged, and it's okay. I'll just take care of this myself. So now what I want to do is actually just validate the tech's work. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same test that he did. So I'm gonna do a compression test and also put a camera down each spark plug hole. I'm gonna go ahead and remove these spark plug covers, remove the spark plugs, remove the coils, and then we can go ahead and do that. So I already removed all of the spark plugs and all the coils. Now the order that this goes is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I also had to remove a few fuses, which I'll explain more of that in a bit. But now after looking at all of these spark plugs, they look pretty fine and normal, except 8, which is this one. Now check this out. I replaced this spark plug right before dropping off the car at the dealership, and now it's just completely charred. But now looking at 4, which is the one that the tech told me that it also had an issue. I mean, this looks pretty fine. I don't see an issue with this. But I guess we'll find out once I do the compression test and once I put the camera down each hole. But let's go ahead and do that next. Now we can go ahead and start with the compression test. So in order to do that, you have to remove all of the coils and the spark plugs just like I did. And now those 2 fuses that I removed, those are for the fuel pump and also for the injector. Now, the reason that I removed that is just so when I try to start on the car, it won't be trying to dump fuel in. But in order to do this compression test, then you're gonna need this compression tester. So this is what it looks like. I got mine from Amazon. I think it was like around $40. And ideally, you're gonna want 2 people. So one is going to actually thread that in down the spark plug hole. So you're gonna want it snug, not too tight. And then the second person is gonna be inside the car trying to start it up. So once they try to start it up, the person that's gonna be here, in this case me, I'll just be looking at that reading, and then once Chris starts the car up, then it's just gonna build the maximum pressure on that cylinder. And then once it has the maximum pressure, then this is actually going to stop the reading, and then I'll be able to see where it is. Now, every single car has different readings. In this case, for the GT350 reading online, each cylinder should be within like around 220 to like high 230s, maybe 240 range. So I'm looking for each cylinder to be within that. I mean, obviously, I know ADA's a problem, so it's not gonna be anywhere near that, but I wanna see where it is. Not all of them are gonna be the same. They're probably gonna vary maybe between 10 to 15% of each other. Now, once I do this, I will be starting with cylinder 8 because that's a problematic one. And then after that, I'll move to cylinder 4 just because the mechanic did say that that was having an issue as well. So I just wanna verify his work. So once I do 8 and 4, I'll move on to all of them, and then you'll want to actually note down what are the readings for each. So let's see, let's start this compression test now. Now starting with the compression test, I already have this compression tester snug. Now the only thing is for the car to start up, so I'll be here just taking a look and seeing where it stops. Any guesses on where cylinder 8 is gonna stop? I'm thinking maybe like 200. So once it stops, then I'll just tell Chris to stop, and then I'll move on to the next. All right, so let's do this. Stop. Wow. That's like 130. Between 130, 140. All right. Okay, so now it's on 4. So since we already did the compression test on 8, then this already has air. So in order to release it, you just need to press this button, and then it'll just reset to 0, and then we can start. So I'm moving to 4 just because the tech at the dealer said that this one's bad. It's not as bad as 8. So I don't know, I'm guessing again 200 since the other one was way off than what I expected. So let's reset it and then start. Okay, go. Okay, that, well, again, I'm way off, so that looks like 235, between 230, 235, something like that. Okay, well, so just finished the compression test on the rest. I just powered through it. Now, here are the results. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So clearly with cylinder 8, I was completely off. This is horrible. This is not what I was expecting. Now with everything else, it's well within that range that I told you guys, and they're all pretty close to each other. And this actually matches with this, with all these spark plugs here. Just like I showed you earlier, everything seems fine except 8 is the one with the biggest issue. Now I'm just a little bit confused because the tech at the dealership did say that there was an issue with cylinder 4 when he did the compression test, but here, once I did the test, it seems fine. The spark plug seems fine as well. So I don't know, it seems fine to me, but I'm just a little bit confused. Either way, now I'm going to move on to put the inspection camera down each spark plug hole and then just see if there's any piston damage. Then I'll be able to see more into 4 and then just see if there is some damage or not, and then 8 as well, and then just take a look at the rest. So let's move on to that. There is another test that I could have done, which is the leak down test, but I don't have the tools. And then second, I mean, it's pretty obvious with just doing the compression test and then actually putting the camera down there. So let's move on to putting the inspection camera and then let's see what we find. All right, so this is the inspection cam that I'll be using. This I did get from Harbor Freight, and this one has like a bit of a bigger screen than the others. Let's see how it works. The reviews seem to pretty good. The way that this works is you stick this down the spark plug hole. So this end right here has some LED lights as well as a camera. Let me just get this straightened out, and then I'll start with cylinder 8, and then we'll see what's in there. Okay, so I had to place this camera here just because I can't hold both of these and then also navigate this camera through a spark plug hole at the same time. So first, I'm gonna start off with 6 just because I really wanna see what at least a healthy piston is supposed to look like. And then I can go to 8 and then compare it. And I'll go ahead and put what I'm seeing on the screen exactly here so you guys can see that too. That is what a nice, healthy, and good piston is supposed to look like. Okay. I do see some oil on the thread in here, so I'll have to see what the other is, if that's normal or not. It doesn't look like a lot. Okay, so let me move on to 8. Okay, so I do see some oil on the threading here. I think it's a little bit more than on cylinder 6. Let's keep going. All right, so comparing this with 6, I see something like way, I'm not sure if you guys can see that there, towards like the sides. That seems to be, I don't know if it's like damaged or deformed. The mechanic did tell me that this piston was deformed, so I guess that's what he was referring to. Yeah, but this looks nothing like 6. Let me see if I can move the camera a little bit more. Now, I'm not sure, I can't really see here if the walls are scored or anything. I could definitely see that that there doesn't look normal, at least it doesn't look like 6. Okay, so definitely something there that's not supposed to. So now let's move on to 4 and see how that one looks. Okay, so now moving to 4. I do see some oil on the threads too, but it seems like 6. It's not as bad as it was on 8, or not as much. But now let's navigate down. It does seem like there's something there, like towards the side, just like on 8, but it doesn't look as bad. It definitely doesn't look like 6. Like there was 6 looks like intact, but this does look like there's something there. Not as bad as 8. So I guess the tech was right when he was talking about 4 had some piston damage, but it really wasn't as bad as 8. So I guess, but it's not affecting compression at all, but there's something there, it doesn't seem normal. So I guess this could cause a problem in the future. So I see now what the tech was talking about. All right, so 4 and 8 definitely do have an issue. Okay, so now I'm just gonna move on to the rest and then just see how they look. Okay, so now that we did those tests, you can see that there's piston damage on cylinder 8 and also on cylinder 4. Although once we did the compression test, like I mentioned before, it didn't affect it on cylinder 4, but that's not to say that it's gonna cause an issue in the future. So now let's move on to the good news. So the good news is that this car will be getting fixed. By who? By me. So I do plan on fixing this. So how I plan on doing that is dropping the engine, disassembling the engine, replacing those parts, and also upgrading parts in the engine, then assembling the engine back together, and then putting it back on the Shelby. The only catch is that I've never done this before, so this is going to be my first time doing this. So when I dropped off the car at the dealer, I was really hoping that they would go through with this if they found any issue, but I also knew that there was another possibility that if they found the issue, they could find out that the car was tuned and then maybe run into the same thing. So I had plenty of time to think once it was there. Once they came back to me saying that they weren't going to go through with the warranty, I mean, at first I was a little bit down, but I really did think about this a lot. And eventually I was planning on working on an engine in my channel. That was just something that I planned to do way later on down the road with an older car that no longer had warranty. But as you know, things happen, so this just pushed it for me to actually do that project a little bit early on, and with nothing more than my GT350. So that's exactly when I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna go through with this. So right now, how I feel is a little bit nervous. I'm also excited, but more than anything, I feel very determined because this car is very special to me and it holds very sentimental value. So I will be getting this fixed. Where there's a will, there's a way. I will be fixing this. I know it's gonna take me a little bit longer than maybe someone that has already done this before or has a bit more knowledge than me with this, but I will get it done. I don't know anyone, like not even Chris, none of my friends, no one personally that has ever done any engine work. So this is going to be a learning curve. It's something that is completely out of my comfort zone, but like I've said before, I like a challenge. I am willing to fix my car because I mean, I do have another option. I could take it to a shop and have them work on it, but no, why? If I plan on doing this before, I might as well work on it myself, and I will be learning a lot with this project, so I'm very excited to go through with this. So I know the question will be, do you think that the tuned caused this issue? So I'm gonna go ahead and say no, I don't think that the tune caused this issue, just because there's many GT350s out there that have issues and it's not something that's hidden. Everybody knows that, and as GT350 owners, when you're buying this car, I mean, you're well aware of that, or at least I hope. And those issues, I mean, it could be a brand new GT350 that I've seen have issues, anything from like having 2,000 miles or like up to 40,000 miles. It all varies, and the issues are from either spinning a bearing, oil consumption, or just completely destroying your engine. The many track days that I have with the GT350 and then just driving it hard, I mean, I've never had an issue. Luckily, I never spun a bearing. I never had oil consumption issues until I started having the misfire. So I guess those misfires is kind of like a precursor to just having engine issues. So that's why I'm gonna go ahead and say that I don't think that the tune caused this. Now, one thing that I will suggest to any of you that have a GT350 and it is tuned, and for any reason you need, or you're having issues with it and you need to take it to the dealer, just make sure that either one, you clean up your engine bay, make sure that intake elbow is clean, or make sure that it's dirty. So make sure it's evenly clean or evenly dirty throughout the entire engine bay. And then the other thing is that once you flash it back to stock, depending on how many miles you have, make sure you turn it on and off a bunch of times, just because once you flash it back to stock, it resets the ignition cycles, and then that's how they'll be able to determine whether it's tuned or not. And this was very unfortunate that this happened, but you know, now I know it is what it is. Either way, I'm looking forward to having this project and working on the Shelby and then just bringing it back up. Another thing that I do want to mention is that with the 5.0s, that is something that the service advisor told me, but it is up to the dealer's discretion whether they actually want to go ahead and not go through all those checks and then just give you the engine if you need it or not. So just throwing that out there. But either way, I hope that this video was somewhat helpful to any of you. If you have this car or any other car really, I think just doing these tests, that they're very simple and easy to do. I guess they're kind of like a checkup on your car, so it's something that you could do on any car just to kind of see like the state of the engine and how your car is. Now I'm looking forward to this GT350 engine rebuild series. I never thought that I would be saying that, but I am. That will be coming very soon. So if any of you have any questions, concerns, advice, suggestions, then please let me know. I'm completely open to this because I will be reaching out to others that are more advanced and have more knowledge when it comes to this. But we will be getting the GT350 up and running in due time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.